My Inner Knowing, empowering you to find your compass for the journey. We are dedicated to supporting you to rediscover and trust your natural ability to navigate life each day by sharing insight and experience through the lens of two professional communicators and their guests. We intend to prompt internal inquiry that supports all those willing to explore a unique path.
Well, hello.
Here we go.
Good morning, Tina. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah, we're really excited to have this conversation with you. And it was so nice to meet you last month when we got our guest, maybe 2 months ago. Whew, time flies. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So one of the things that we typically start with, Tina, is as best you are aware on your journey at this point, what does your inner knowing feel like for you? How do you know you're in that level of congruence inside yourself?
Ooh. Well, you don't mess around. You just go right in deep there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how do I know that how do I know that I know is kind of what you're saying. Is what I realized probably as a child, probably as at least a teenager, I think, is that that we humans are not separate from everything. And a lot of times I'll tell people, people are always talking about the veil between us and spirit realm and the veil, this and I'm telling you, for years, I've been running around all over the place looking for that veil, and I just can't find it. And I just can't find it. And then I realized that inner knowing is actually understanding and feeling that interconnectedness that we have with the world. That I'm serious. There isn't any veil that I can find, but we create a veil with our thoughts. So I really realized that my inner knowing feels very, very connected in with the whole universe. In fact, my son, when he was about 9 years old, he said the most profound thing. He said, Mom, the universe is really big, and we humans are really just a booger in God's nose. The universe is so big. Wow. And I've never brought that up in an interview, but there it is. So he had an inner knowing, putting it in 9-year-old boy terms, but yeah, he had an inner knowing, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I so value observing children, whether it's, my own or others, because I feel like they have so much to teach us. So much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. And I always say, listen to the children because they come in with that inner knowing that they're not separate. And when they begin to get verbal, oh my goodness, really listen to what they're saying. I have all kinds of examples from grandkids and things like that of the phenomenal things they say, because they haven't separated, they haven't acclimated to the earth plane world. And so they speak about that inner knowing and that inner connection.
Yeah.
Can you think of any specifics that you've heard, to share just, in those observations of your grandchildren or other children where they're still connected so closely?
Mm-hmm. I was taking a nap with my little granddaughter, and she must have been about 3, I think, and she was very verbal already. And and I woke up and she was shaking my arm and wake up, wake up. I go, okay, I'm awake, I'm awake. And she said, an angel just came in the door and kissed me right here on my arm. I thought, oh, does that bring you to tears or what?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And that same granddaughter, oh, probably around that time, maybe a little older, she was in an argument with her mother, who's my daughter, and she was standing there and she had her little hands on her hips, and she says, "Don't you remember when I was the mommy and you were the baby?"
Oh, wow.
I know.
That's amazing. Yeah.
See, listen to those little ones, because they're not imagining anything. They are remembering that how interconnected we are.
Yeah, they are wonderful reminders.
Why do you think, Tina, that, when you say I've searched for that veil and I just can't find it, what I interpret that as, well, why don't you interpret it for us? What do you mean when you say that? I can't find the veil.
Well, again, people keep saying, in fact, a lot of spiritual teachers I've heard say this too, that there is a veil between the earth plane and the heavens, or a veil between the physical and a non-physical world. And I just have not been able to find it. So the veil to me is like a term that's used that we're separate, when really we're not separate at all. So I think that's what people mean by that. So, I say I run around looking for a veil, but I'm not looking for actually a sheet hanging up on the clothesline.
No. I was just interested because I don't know that that's ever, it's not everybody's experience to have that connection constantly. And I think that's why others of us, including me, would say, yeah, there is a veil.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But somehow either it was natural for you or you learned that wasn't going to be for you. Yeah. Right.
Well, I grew up in a very, very intuitive family, and it didn't come down. Everybody thinks that means being intuitive and a medium means it's come down through the generations, when actually how I perceive it is that my family just thought it was normal to be intuitive, and it was normal to see and talk to the deceased. So that it's the normal of this world, of the non-physical world, that came down through the generations. And I'm telling you, I don't bring this up, but my parents, my upbringing with my sister and I, they were very, very, very abusive. And yet they were very, very, very intuitive. So intuition doesn't really mean that you're kind or a nice person. It just means you realize that there is other realms in our existence. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's what came up.
No, absolutely, you did. It's interesting, because I have talked about before. I think we come in with that innate wisdom, and then whether it's family structure or just ourselves, if you don't have that family history that you have, where it's open and acknowledged and those sorts of things, I think the veil does get raised or put into place. And just wondering if that's part of our, many people's process, that, and why. I don't know the answers to that, but I'm sure you've worked with tons of people, I'm sure. And would you say that their experience is that the veil is present and you're there to help them, move it? Or how does that work for you?
That's my primary goal, is to help people realize that there's not that division. Because, the three of us sitting here, we are energy. We're not just a physical body. We are energy. And even on Zoom here, our energy is intermingling. That's why when I see clients and things on Zoom, I don't feel that there's a separation because we're looking at a screen. We are energetic beings. And but when adults and teachers and whoever else is saying, no, you're here a physical body, you don't see anything, there's nothing there. For the most part, it gets taught to us that we're separate. When we came in, we knew we weren't, but then it kind of maybe gets beat out of us verbally, at least.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Ooh, that just I feel this overwhelming sadness at the acknowledging, Yeah.
I know it. I know. So I keep thinking, I should write a book about intuition in children. And I thought, well, I'm in the depths of writing a book now. In fact, I've come out of my sabbatical to this this talk together with you two, but because I'm writing in the throes of writing book number 6, but that's but that's one of my goals, is to help people realize we're not separate at all. And the non-physical world is right there. My cousin's little boy, for another example, my cousin's little boy, he was in battle all the time. He would sit on the floor as a little 3 and 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and he was in great battles that he was having with little, toy men and little figures and stuff. And my cousin was just distraught about this. And so I tried to help him realize, well, he's come from a past life where he's been in great battles, to try to normalize it for my cousin.
Sure.
Yeah. Can we allow them the space to work through it? Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, Tina. I so appreciate your languaging around the veil, because I don't feel separate either, and I never have. But I also think that I was the 5th of 8 children, and my parents didn't have the time or energy to put into reinforcing those stories, is how I tell myself.
Yay.
Yeah. I think they were
good part of it. Yes.
Yeah, they were very busy, and they had my third. I'm the 5th of 8, but my third sister died when she was very young. And I just think, my parents were surviving, let alone with having so many children.
Yes.
And so, I just think.
Well, in that survival mode keeps us very, very involved with the physical world. And we don't have time or space to notice that we are energy beings in an energetic universe. So that's how it kind of happens. We get lost in all the details.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I said, the languaging, it's helpful. When I'm working with clients, I often say, they're right here. They're right here. Yeah, just talk to them like they're right here, because they are.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and since you said that, let me emphasize too that we humans do tend to talk a lot to our deceased, or the deceased people, friends and family and all that. But what I'm really focusing on in this particular book I'm writing right now is stop talking and listen. Because everybody tells me, when I work with mentoring clients, they'll say, well, I'm talking and talking and talking to the spirit, and they're just not saying anything. And I said, well, have you stopped talking to them and paused and to let them answer you? No, I never thought about that. But he said, I never thought about that.
I love that.
So pause and pause and take the pop. That's what I would say. Pause and take the pop, and whatever pops in your mind, words or images.
Oh,
I'm glad you're laughing about that.
Yeah. Tell me more about The
You
laughing.
laughing?
Yeah.
Because there's a truth in it, I think, for us to
Yeah.
laugh about it. That we do. We have so much to say to our deceased loved ones or the deceased people that we had struggles with, and we talk
Mm-hmm.
and talk. And it's fascinating to me that people don't give them a chance to answer. I think they don't
Mm-hmm.
realize, oh, wait a minute. The deceased are just as alive as we are. I always say that. They're just as alive as we are. They have a bunch of things to say to us, but we have to give them a chance to say it.
Yeah.
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 I'm interested, Tina, when you're working with people and teaching them how to do that, what could you share some of that process, which is, how do you get them in the space to be able to listen or to hear messages that are coming through?
Hmm. Ooh. Boy, I have to think about that. How do I get them in the space? Well, I practice. And, because we have a lot to say to the deceased, but then the main thing I guess I teach people is say something to them, pause, and allow them to respond. So I literally walk people through it and people in my courses and stuff. Now, say something to your deceased, pause, and take whatever leaps telepathically. And I teach people about telepathy a lot because thought is energy. And so telepathic information bouncing back and forth is really thought energy bouncing back and forth. I teach people how important our thoughts are and that we think, but also the words that we say out loud, because every word is an electrical spurt of energy. And then when we stick a bunch of words together for a phrase or a sentence, that's its own energy. And so that's really telepathic thought. So they'll answer in words, phrases, or individual words, but they'll also answer in images too. And I even work with a lot of animal communicators. And so I, help them to really let the animal respond and really receive what they're showing you. Animals usually use more images, but so yeah, I just kind of walk people through learning to receive the information.
Yeah.
Do you find that different people have different ways of receiving how it comes through?
I think people call it different, different words. I think they call it different things, like, the intuitive teachers, they'll say the clairs, so it's clairvoyance, clairaudience, and things like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so there's kind of those labels where clairaudience really means, in my opinion, really means that as the three of us talk together, when you say something to me, those words are touching my eardrums. But with telepathic communication, it's the energy of thought comes in. So to me, clairvoyance, clairaudience, especially clairaudience, is different very much, because sometimes, well, like I'll tell you this, I woke up in the middle of the night because somebody yelled, "Tina!" And I woke up and I go, "What?" And so that was a voice touching my eardrum, literally. But that's kind of unusual. I'm apparently pretty good at this, but that hardly ever happens, that a voice from spirit is touching my eardrum. It's mostly telepathic thought energy bouncing back and forth.
Yeah. When did you step into this work in a more, I don't know, formal or structured way, Tina?
I love your voice, by the way. I love both of your voices. That's
Thank you.
there's great voices.
Thanks.
How did I step into it? Well, that's kind of a long story. I, probably because of my horrible upbringing, I went into psychiatric nursing, became a psychiatric nurse specialist, and then opened up my own private practice. And this is one of the things I would say to your listeners is pay attention to what pulls at you or what you feel as a yearning, because I was yearning to learn to do hypnosis. And I was living in New Mexico back then. I just lived and worked on the Navajo reservation. And so anyway, I went to hypnosis school in New Mexico a long time ago, and which led me to mostly doing past life regressions. And then a book literally fell out on the floor in a bookstore. And it was one of my, that really, it doesn't happen.
That.
People always say that, but it really did happen. And it was Michael Newton's book, Journey of the Soul. And so he's passed on now, but he only worked with people who were already hypnotherapists and were already doing past lives. Okay. And so I, fit his criteria. And he was teaching in the Netherlands. So I went to Amsterdam and studied with him for a week. And it's his method of taking people into a past life, but then using that as a springboard to go into our life in the spirit realm. Literally, he calls them life between lives.
Yes.
So it's not, we're alive even when we're not in a physical form here on earth. And so that really, there's nothing like it when we sit in the dark with a person and help guide them into a past life. And it's very, very, very real. And then to help guide them into the spirit realm, even between lives. And so that was really a springboard for me to start teaching these things, having all that experience, listening to other people's experiences. So that was really something. So I would ask people to notice what you're yearning for. Notice that pull, because I think in my inner knowing, I noticed that pull and yearning. I guess another example I could give you, I'm kind of rattling on here, but another example I could give you. Do you remember that when laptops first came out and a long time ago? Well, a family member of mine was very high tech and got a laptop. And I was sitting there in the living room with her a couple of nights, and she was on her laptop doing, I have no idea. And I thought, oh, I have to have a laptop. I've got to have a laptop. And I remember this is when laptops were new. And I looked at her and I said, I've got to get a laptop. She goes, well, what on earth would you do with it? Family members, what would you do with it?
Yep, exactly. Thanks.
I said, I have no idea. And I didn't. I was clueless, but I was yearning for a laptop. And so I got a laptop, and that same person actually taught me, kind of how to do it. And, the reason I was noticing that yearning is I write books about all this stuff. And that's what started. That's one of those pivotal points, was that yearning. So I beg everybody to notice what pulls you or what you're yearning for, because that's a signal.
Yeah. Opportunity to learn something about ourselves, for sure.
Yes. Well, and it's showing us the path that would be optimal to take. We have lots of paths, but some are better than others.
Yeah.
They are all paths, however.
They are all paths.
Yeah, I think, the yearning piece is really important. And also, for me personally, just getting to the point. I mean, we just did an episode about a hike I had, but it was like, I talked about that for years. And, and I recall other things that I've yearned for in my life and never have done. And thank goodness, I'm still young enough and have enough physical ability to go do those things. Just finally, I am doing this. I'm listening to what the yearning was and having the courage or the faith, whatever you want to say, to try it. Such an important step. And so difficult and so easy, right? It's so difficult to have the courage to actually do.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Because, when I wanted that laptop, I said, how much are these things? And she told me, oh, that's horrible. How much are these things?
Back then it was awful.
But see that in that inner knowing, I think is we just notice that pull. Where's the pull going to, or what are we yearning to do?
Yeah.
And off you went on your hiking.
Off I went. It was quite the journey. So
yeah,
it was great though. I mean, there was just so much learning associated with it. But what's awesome for me now is it's just like, hey, I actually, and I've done lots of other things, but not necessarily the yearnings. And so it's, I think, is opening a door to, I'm not going to get to the end and say, gosh, I wish I had, followed that.
Exactly.
So
yes,
I'm a little bit of a late bloomer in that department, but still early enough.
I don't think you're a late bloomer.
I bloomed when
I was
it
just going to tell him the same thing.
Yeah.
It's never
Let me ask
too
you
late.
this.
Agreed.
The trainings that are on your website are mediumship and medical intuition are the primary ones that I saw. But you've also have this whole background of past life regression and life between lives, et cetera. Do you still teach those things too?
No, I haven't been, because rather than teaching them, I was facilitating people when I was in private practice. I was facilitating people to do those things. But my medical intuitive books, there's one, Become One. That's kind of the introduction of how to get this going. If you're yearning, to feel the pull to do this, and then Advanced. And then the third one is to be your own medical intuitive, because, if we don't want to heal, and a lot of people aren't aware of this, but they don't really want to get better. But if we want to get better, we are energetic beings. We're truly responsible for ourselves. And I'm one that I want to interlink the Western medicine with what I call the ooh-wah-wah, the Western medicine with energy healing. We'll call it energy healing.
I love that. Ooh-wah-wah. Yay.
Ooh-wah-wah. Yeah. So it's really linking the two together. So, if we don't participate with energy medicine or the Western medicine, if we don't participate, not much is going to happen. Not much is going to happen. So that's what that third book is about.
In your experience, what is it that that has people in that space where they don't really want to heal?
That's a good question. It seems to me that there's a secondary gain. That's what the mental health counselor in me says, that a lot of times there's this secondary gain. Like a dramatic example would be this grandmother that I know, and she had her grandkids, 2 or 3 boys, very boisterous boys. And she had them every day. She had them on the weekends. She had them constantly. And she was telling the family, I can't do this. It's too much, things like that. And she just kept having the kids. And so really what happened was she had a massive stroke. People were caring for her, and she was no longer caring for everybody else almost 24/7. So a lot of, it's kind of a dramatic example, but there's usually some kind of secondary gain, I think I'd say.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Yeah. What else are you thinking, babe?
That just why it is in life. It's just like making the decision to follow what you actually do something about a yearning. The same, I think, piece may be associated with not, saying I want to get better, but really not being invested in the energetic healing for whatever reason. And just, I'm wondering as human beings, why we throw these barriers in our way.
We're pretty good at it, don't you think?
We are.
Yeah, we're pretty darn good at it. Well, I think this is why your focus for your podcast is so vital, is that inner knowing, because people get so caught up in the physical world and all the measurements that we put on ourselves to succeed at this and succeed at that all those measurements, are hard to keep up with. And I think we lose that. It's kind of like little kids, back to the kids again. I don't know why I'm talking about kids so much today, but back to the kids. Usually when they're around 6 and 7 years old, they stop saying the cool stuff because they're going to school now. They're getting very busy with the physical world, and they stop. They stop telling you about heaven. They stop telling you about the angels. They stop talking about that stuff because we get so involved in, making the rent and stuff like that.
Yeah. Tina, for you, what do you notice in your body when you are not as connected as you would like to be? Like, what's your sign that, I need to get back into my, whatever you call it, your knowing. What's the tell for you when you're out? And then what do you do to help yourself get back in?
A lot of people would say they get very anxious and stuff, but I really don't get anxious. So your question is so unique. Mostly I will feel a bit lost. I will think, what should I do? And one of the things I taught for about 10 years was meditating. I have to sit down and get quiet because my brain will go, like this. And so I think feeling a bit lost would be my key word that I would respond to you about that. I know what, if I'm going, what, or what should I do, or whatever, it's time to sit my butt down and actually go into that stillness.
Yeah.
And in that stillness, I actually is a listening place too. It's a receiving place also.
Yeah. Yeah. I resonate with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what's your process when you do that? What's your typical meditation style? Just so our listeners can, understand how different people do it.
You two have the most profound questions of anyone I have been working with. This is amazing. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot what was your question? Say it again.
When you're feeling out of touch with your knowing, and you say, "Hey, it's time to sit myself down, and I've got to meditate to open this back up." What is your process for that?
I literally sit still. I love, like you, I love to be outdoors and especially with trees. And I will sit down and I'll notice my thoughts are just, and I'll think, no, just calm down. No, just calm down. And so I just keep repeating that. And I also deliberately, and I do this every day, I deliberately direct my own energy field. And even science has called it the human toroidal field. So I direct my own energy field like a fountain, bringing up from the center of the earth up and fill myself. And then it shoots up into the heavens, but then the heavens gives back down to us into our body and our energy field down to the earth and then back up again. And that does everything. And when I teach that in my classes, I've had people come in, after the first day and come back and they're just like, I've been doing that toroidal field. Well, that's really something. I feel so different. And it's getting in charge of the energy being that we are is what I think's happening. So I get busy doing that and feeling it. And then my thoughts calm down. I'm not just a thought maker. I'm calming down to become the energy being that we really are.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the best I can answer that question.
That's lovely. Yeah. I've seen the, Betty Ann had showed me the photograph of what that looks like several years ago. Yeah. And I love it because I always pull energy from the earth through the bottom of my feet. And that's what I've done. And so I really loved that, the visual to kind of like complete it, the visual piece, because I'm a very visual person. So yeah, it's a beautiful.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Well, and it's an up and a filling, but it's we're so full. We also shoot up into the heavens, but then the more refined we get, I always say the spirit realm can only meet us wherever we're at. It's kind of that like attracts like. So the more clear that we are, and the more we've raised our vibration, the more it can meet us at that higher level. And so then they give back to us in a higher level way, and we'll fill up. And then it's an up and down constant movement. It's kind of like I always say, if you can picture a fountain out in a pond, a fountain is really only a pump, and it's pulling the water up, gushing it up into the heavens, and then the fountain, rains back down and then into the pond, and then it comes back up. So that's what I do. So I'm really getting quiet, but I'm also deliberately running my energy. Yeah. I'm still trying to answer your question.
Oh, it's very helpful. I just think the visual piece of that is, for me, what I'm seeing is I have, when I do that, it's typically, up the chakras and then back down, and I'm not like projecting it out into a field around me. So I'm thinking that there's a difference between, being that insular and then broadening it out. So I'll try that the next time.
Well, and I would ask you too, to not send it outward. I would ask you to fill up so full that it's kind of like we're a light bulb, and the light bulbs, the light is there in a little speck in the center, and it's so bright that it just shines out. So don't send. There's a difference between shining out and sending our energy outward.
Okay.
See, that's the difference, because you want to stay very full. Yeah, so don't send it out. Just let your job would be to get as brilliantly bright as you can inside. And then you'll just shine out. And don't forget, you have a backside too. Everybody forgets we have a backside. I'm going, don't forget.
Yeah.
That's great.
I think it's a really important point, because when you sense into your body, I think it's normal for us to think, oh, it's here, it's all in the front, because that's where our arms go, I guess, and where our eyes go too.
Well, we kind of think, peripherally, we kind of think we're just here, but no, we got a backside too. In fact, energetically, that's where we're really vulnerable. And think about phrases in our language. Oh, that hurt me, and it just felt like she stabbed me in the back. We have a lot of back phrases because it's a vulnerable area.
Sure. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love the visual.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, Tina, I think you said his name was Michael Newton.
Yes.
Yeah. When you think about over the last several decades, resources, books, classes that you felt like touched you in some way, that stand out maybe more than others, what comes to mind?
Well, I'm kind of hesitant to say out loud that, but I'll say it, that I really don't take any classes. I did with Newton, which was unusual, and I, of course, went to school for nurse training and at Purdue, and then specialized in psychiatric nursing, and then the hypnosis training, and then I went for a week with Newton. That's really it. In fact, I was asked to be a speaker at the Holistic Nurses Association. I think they were having a convention in Florida. I think I went. And I had to fill out a lot of forms for them. And one of the forms was, tell us about all of your training and who you trained with and what books did you train with and stuff like that. And I said, I don't have any. They let me talk anyway. They still let me present. Because even then I don't think I had studied with Newton. But where I get this information. Let me share this. This is where I get this information without studying from another human is, how would I start this? Is that I listen more to my guides, my spirit guides, than I do humans, from living humans. And I actually got rid of all of my guides at one point. And because this is a long answer, by the way, to your question.
It's okay.
But the two words were just bombarding me all the time. And it was getting I thought maybe I was a little getting nuts, but these two words were just constant. I'd wake up and I'd hear these two words. I'd be driving down the road. I'd hear these two words, and it was divine and sacred. And to make a super long story short, I was getting information from the universe to release my lower level guides and only work with the divine and sacred. And at least in our English language, using the divine and sacred, because every word is an electrical signal, that I began working only with that level of guide. And that's when everything kind of went cowabunga. And that really made a difference. Because a lot of people are working, they say, oh yeah, I'm working with my guides. But a lot of people are working with dead people, spirits. And, if I fall over dead tonight, then I'm not going to be at the divine and sacred level. I'm going to be a dead person. And so I ask people to really consider only working with the divine and sacred. because, I have my grandma and grandpa here that are here all the time, or in and out quite a bit. But they're not at that divine and sacred level. They're my helpers from my personal life. But oh my goodness, I would never go to them for healings, for teaching, for any of that. That was a really long answer, wasn't it?
Oh, it was really helpful,
Yeah.
Tina.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
It made all the difference in the world. And that's where I get my information from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I teach.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard Betty Ann say that, divine and sacred. So yeah.
She's doing it, yes. Yeah.
She is. Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. No, I appreciate the learning. To me, languaging is so important. Like you were describing, it all has energy and
it is energy. It's just not thinking. It is creating an energetic spurt through our body, our energy field, and out to the universe.
Yeah.
Be careful what you think. That's what I would say to your listeners.
Yeah.
Be careful.
I'm sitting here thinking I need to be so much more responsible. But I'm on the right path on this spectrum. I'm improving.
I think you're farther along on your path than you're giving yourself credit. Give yourself some credit.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. I say that often.
Well, there's the words, right? Come on.
Now you have two of us telling you that.
This is great. What a great day.
Yeah.
There you go.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tina, because the hour goes by so fast. I'd like you, what would you like to share with our listeners about the work you do in the books that you write? What are you hopeful for them? And then what are the best places to access that information about you and the work you do?
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for asking that. I'm surprised. So thank you. Well, my website is very easy to find. It's my name, tinazion.com. I like to make things simple and to the point. So tinazion.com. And there, if you want to check on, see what my books are about and things like that, you can check that out there. And my courses, descriptions of my courses and the ones that are lined up for next year, they're there. And one of my primary goals is to help people realize that they are energetic beings and that we are all very much in an energetic world and that we're not separate. And, one of the main things, in fact, I'm writing the sabbatical that I mentioned I'm writing a mediumship book. And, one of my goals for that is to take the fear. People are terrified of seeing, people will tell me, they'll say, well, I'm here to learn medical intuition. They'll be at one of my courses or something. I'm here to learn medical intuition, but I don't want to see any dead people. Well, that's part of our world. But it's that fear and that terror. Sometimes people are terrified of it. So my goal is always to take the scariness out and to be more in charge, be more in charge of our energy field and be more in charge of our life and be more in charge of what the heck we're doing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
I agree so much. Yeah. Yeah. So are your courses, are they online and in person, or are they mostly online, or what are those?
Oh, on my website, there's recorded courses, and these are actually recordings of me actually teaching. So you're getting, the real course. And so I have the Become a Medical Intuitive as one course, Advanced Medical Intuition as another course, and then Be Your Own Medical Intuitive. That's doing your own self-healing and running your own energy in certain ways, getting more in charge of you and your body and your health. And so and then my other 2 books are the Reiki books. And one of the reasons my first book was actually the Reiki Teacher's Manual, because lots of people were coming to my classes, and lots of them, probably usually a third of the class were Reiki people. And I was hearing all kinds of things that I felt were very incorrect about Reiki. And so really, when I got that laptop I was yearning for, my first book was what was my first book? The Reiki Teacher's Manual. That was my first book. And I thought, I got to tell people that, they're harming themselves doing Reiki this way. And so that's what happened. So, and as far as getting my books, my goodness, you can get them, always on Amazon, but all the other places. And so they're in print, they're in audio, which people seem to love. They're driving down the road listening to my books on audio, and they're ebook too. Yeah, an ebook as well.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm an audiobook person too.
Are you? See, I think it's really popular now.
Yeah. Yeah. And my brain processes really fast. And so the audiobook allows you the speed control. And so, my brain, my brain stays better engaged if it's a little bit faster, actually, than we normally speak. So.
Oh, that makes total sense. Yes, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, if you were going to offer something to our listeners today, it can be an intention or a mantra, whatever comes to you, what would you offer them today?
Once again, you two have the deepest, most profound, wonderful questions. I would ask people to remember and realize that we don't need to find ourselves. We're already there. It's what is one of our jobs, I think one of the biggest jobs that we have, is to allow. And when the guys were yelling divine and sacred at me, since then and more recently, they've been yelling the word allow to me. And so, I'm passing that on, because this is the word they're yelling at me the most about, is to teach about we're so much in charge of our life and what's going on, but we have to allow. We don't have to find ourselves. We need to just allow the world to give to us and come to us and be ourselves.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. It's just been lovely.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and insight. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You two are very, very special, and make sure that you don't take that off the recording so that people hear, so that you two are very special.
Thank you, Tina. Yeah.
Okay.
He is lovely.
And so is she. Yay.
Sitting there or hiking. He's wonderful.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Oh.
Yay.
Thank you for joining us today. We are excited to explore life with you. We encourage curiosity, self-growth, and we strive to be more compassionate every day.